Welcome to the Clinical Cookout.
Hey now, it's your Auntie Ashley.
What's up? It's your girl, Auntie Suge.
Hey, it's your girl Auntie Quiche.
Hey y'all, it's Auntie Amber.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. We are qualified clinicians who will cover various topics on mental health and will sometimes provide community resources. We are not being paid by any organization for our content, and any information we provide is general and pertains to our own personal experiences. We do not, I repeat, we do not provide psychotherapy, diagnoses, or treatment recommendations on air. Any concerns related to your individual mental health should be directed to your medical and mental health professionals. We are not responsible for others' decisions or the subsequent consequences.
Welcome to the Clinical Cookout. Today we are going to be talking about supporting Black businesses. This hot sauce is going to get hot because each of us have some different opinions. My opinion is probably going to be not the most controversial, but it's going to be an opinion that somebody's going to have something opposite to say, which is what I like anyway. So my opinion is I love to support Black businesses. Black businesses are great. However, I don't love to support unprofessionalism. And before anybody gets upset, that's not to say that just because you have a Black business that you have to be unprofessional. But I do run into some unprofessional things that make me mad and make me not want to support. So I'm interested in what the aunties have to say about that.
I think it's a double-edged sword. I think it is a double-edged sword. I think that for me, because I love structural and look at systemic things, I think that supporting Black businesses is a must. I try to every chance I get. But I also think about the sustainability of some Black businesses and how they don't have the resources like other big businesses have. So I'm assuming it's a little bit more stressful as a Black business, but I am seeing, and I'm only going to particularly look at this industry. I'm seeing an uptick in people talk about professionalism and just the accruing of all these fees when it comes to the hair business. Like a lot of people are not very happy with hairstylists because they're saying they're not like the old hairstylists who aren't charging for you to just part their hair, or they aren't, they're charging, for them, they're making the people like wash their hair and blow dry it out before they come to the appointment. So I don't want to say that's unprofessional, but there's definitely some things that are a little different and eye-opening, and I'm not sure why that industry is going the way it is, but I just think it's a double-edged sword, and I'm always going to support Black businesses, but I think that they have their level of I guess risk and things that happen to them. And I always try to think of it from this standpoint. If Target can mess up and I still go support them, so can the Black business. And so that's just what I think when it comes to Black businesses. And I always try to approach them like with a smile and stuff, because I know that they're already being pushed to the side anyway because they say they're Black owned and Black operated. So I try to go into it with a different mindset and be patient with them. Sometimes you got to be patient with them. Or sometimes people just don't know how to say this is their first time doing things. So I try to give grace. That's all. I really try to give grace. But that doesn't mean we still treat our people like shit for the people who do come and try to support you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I try to give grace and I try to look at the systemic and I try to look at it. If I'm supporting Target and still support Target, even if they mess up, I can continue to support Black businesses. That's my take on it.
I had a dude, right? Like when you and Amber were here to visit, we went to that big old market and I bought like the beard oil. And I had a dude and I went to go buy the beard oil. And I felt like, okay, I did feel like this. Like I was like, for this little bitty thing of beard oil, like you want $15. And so that's where I start getting annoyed at. So I'm a haggler. I'm like, first the lady said, "Oh, I'll give you 2 for 15." And I was like, okay, bet. That sounds a little bit more reasonable. He's like, no. He came out the back and was like, one of them is 15. And I'm like, look, it's like maybe 4 inches big, like for a little beard oil. And I was just like, okay. And I was like, what if we did 2 for 20? And he was like, sis, why are you trying to do that to me? This is a business. And I was like, sir, because in business, people haggle. And I just looked at him and he was like, okay. All right. No, I'm sorry. All right. You're right. But no, it's 15. And I paid the 15 for it. But my point was, sir, if you're a business, okay, you haggle. Just because you got dark skin like me don't mean I'm gonna be like, I'm willing to pay top dollar or whatever I think, whatever you think top dollar is. I'm trying to haggle everywhere I go. Except for when I go to Target, because I know they ain't having it.
And see, that's where I wanted to come in. We don't haggle everywhere. You can haggle at a car dealership. You can haggle at a market, an open market like that. But we don't haggle in places where we know it's not acceptable. And I think I have a skewed view because my family had their own business. My great grandparents had a convenience store. And then my uncle, when I was a teenager, bought that building back and we had a store. We had a family-owned store. And I worked in the store. My mom worked in the store. We just helped out because everybody had their own jobs, but we helped out. And I got to see firsthand the business side of things for a Black-owned business. And it's not fair. Like, I met a woman in Atlanta who had a Black-owned beauty supply shop. You know, it's not a lot of Black-owned beauty supply shops. Those are usually run by Asians or Arabic people. So I was like, wow, I've never seen a Black-owned beauty supply shop. And she was like, yes, not a lot of us because we get charged differently. Everything costs more for us. And the Koreans who really corner the market here try to purposely keep us out. So when you learn that flip side of how hard it is for Black businesses, that's why I won't haggle with a Black business. I'm gonna pay what you tell me it is. That's what I'm gonna pay because I know how hard it is for you to even be out here. And most businesses fail in their first year. So if you are a business and you trying to make it, I'm gonna just pay whatever your price is if I want it. Because if I really wanted something else, I'm gonna pay the price for it and not haggle them. So I just have a different perspective and I have a heart for people who have Black businesses.
Yeah, and I agree with the lack of resources for Black businesses. I've had mixed experiences. I've had some great experiences with a hairdresser, Black hairdresser. But I also, like, my most recent experience with a Black business was for shades or blinds in my house. And they came out, they quoted me a ridiculous amount of money, like $4,000 for just my living room area. But what he explained to me was our prices are much higher because we can't order straight from the warehouse. They won't allow us to order straight from the warehouse. We have to order through a third-party company who charges us, and then they can get it from there. But the company that I ended up going with charged me half. It's the exact same blind, same brand, but they were able to order straight from the warehouse. So it's not that Black businesses are trying to, I'm not going to say all of them. It's not that most of them are trying to hike up their prices just to make extra money off of us. It's that they don't have the resources and they're not being allowed to, or they're not, finding the best ways to order things directly. They're having to go through all these different avenues to get what they need to sell the product. And it's not fair.
I mean, I think when you have that perspective, it makes it a little bit easier. But also there's people out there who don't have the money to pay your prices. And then like they get like, it doesn't make you any less of a supporter, or it doesn't make a person who wants to haggle any less of a supporter. It just means I'm trying to stretch my dollar too. So I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I know that you have all these obstacles and everything like that, but I'm also trying to stretch my dollar. So when I was like, cause it's a business and people haggle, he got it. Like, you still reserve the right to say, since I said the price was what the price was, and I still paid it, but not without trying to haggle, because that's just business. Like any business that you go to, you're not going to be like, the price is the price. And everybody's going to be like, oh, okay, I like the price. No, some people are going to be like, I know that the price is the price. I'm trying to support you, but I don't have it. And especially when you're selling to the Black community, if it's hard enough for you to get resources when you own the business, imagine how hard it is for Black people who don't already have ready-made finances sitting around to go support, but they still want to support. So I don't know, like, I look at it, I guess looking at it from both angles.
And I would like to back you up on that, Shook, because it's a thing called price matching that a lot of big companies do, that if you don't got it, you can get it. Let's just say something's at Target that's for this price, but at Walmart it's the same thing but a lower price. They'll price match it, or on Amazon they'll price match it. So there is a part of haggling, I guess. I don't know what they call it in their industry. But I guess that is kind of what haggling is. Like, okay, I can't afford it at your store, but I know at this store is this. Can you price match that? Price match
Mm-hmm.
that. So I guess there is a part of that where I'm assuming people are price matching because of that type of crowd that they're missing out on. So instead of not getting no money at all from a business side, why not price match it and at least get some money? So that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, price matching is in a lot of places. Actually, it's in a lot of your bigger stores. So that is a form. That's another form or way to get something at a lower price at the store that you're at. But then there's those places where you still wouldn't haggle. Like I know, like me and Shug are from, and probably a lot of Black areas. You have a lot of Black-owned food businesses. So they're selling food plates, different things like that, and they have this price, and you thinking to yourself, I could go to the grocery store and make this same meal for less. And it's like, but I need to make a profit. So of course my price is going to be more than what it costs to buy the groceries. But you're not going to Applebee's, Chili's, Cheesecake Factory and haggling that price on that menu in no restaurant. But we will do that to ours. I mean, it's just like I said, I'm biased here because everybody is trying to stretch their dollar. But if that business does that for everybody, they're not going to survive. They're not going to be a business anymore. So they can't. If everybody is trying to haggle prices, then they lower it for everybody because my people are going to be the reason my business is closed.
That's true. I mean, it is true.
You're right, because we're a business. We're a business.
Yeah. It's true. But you know what? And another thing that we don't do, a lot of the Arab stores and like the bodegas on the corner and stuff like that, the reason why they keep you out of the market is because when a Black person sees another Black person selling something, that's where we're going. And so if they don't do that, they're actually smart, right? If they don't do that, then they're going to lose out on more of the money. So it's easy to say, I want to keep them out. Like it's a way of keeping our people where we are. But I have a problem sometimes too supporting because some people are just unprofessional. I can't stand unprofessionalism. I don't like for you to be late. I don't like for you to be walking around acting a kind of way instead of like serving the customers a certain way. Like I have problems with unprofessionalism, and it makes it hard to support everybody.
Yeah. Everybody don't have the business mindset though, like customer service. They don't have that. You get a lot of us that want to start businesses because it's popular right now, because people are saying, oh yeah, get you an LLC, get you this, go do that. And we ain't even never worked in community service before. So that's when you get the ones that piss you off. I ordered some Black-owned candles one time, and the candle it stunk. I ordered it online. It was supposed to be some kind of lavender smell, and it did not smell like no lavender. I asked the lady if I could, replace it with something else, and she got a whole attitude like, you ordered this is what you got, it says it on the label, just a whole bunch of shit. And I'm like, have you ever worked in customer service before? Like, is that how you talk to a customer when they have a complaint about something, when you tell me it's supposed to be lavender and it smells like dog shit? So that's just like, you get those that don't have any customer service skills. Like, you need to work somewhere first, learn how to engage with the customer. There's a reason why these bigger businesses have rules and ways that you interact with the customer, and then start your own business. Don't just try to go straight into it and you don't know how to serve people or deal with people.
I think that goes a part of mentorship. Like, how do you get, Black up and coming entrepreneurs to be under individuals who have gotten gotten that type of experience and that training? Like, hey, yes, there's a business side, but this is also a customer service side. You have to be able to make your customers feel like they want to come back. They don't buy just into the product, they buy into you. And when you don't get that practice, or when you don't get that business mentorship, then I can see why a lot of why I ain't gonna say a lot of Black, but just upcoming businesses fall through the cracks, because they're not understanding that the customer, not saying it's always right, but your customer wants to feel like they are at home and they can come see you. That's why Target was able to stay above during the pandemic, because people felt like they are at home at Target. They love that feeling. So I think it's mentorship as well. That's a problem, a gap.
We're in the era, like Amber says, where everybody's like, get an LLC, but a lot of people don't know how to follow. And that's why a lot of people don't know how to lead. Because if you are in a business and you want to take over, or you want to say that's why I have my own business because this, that's why I have my own business because that, but your business is not flourishing, it might have been because you didn't follow long enough, or because you don't know how to follow. Because when you get somebody who can, like you say, mentor you and show you how to do this, then it's kind of like, okay, I'm learning from somebody who's actually successful, and I'm not just bringing my own ideals that are not going to work in here, my own ethics that are not going to work in here, but I'm actually learning how to be successful. So you see the Arabic kids, and I use them because they just take over everything, man. Like you see them in that age of 4 and 5, they're at the cash register. They're in the store at the cash register. They're like, "What kind of weed you want? Yaki number 5 is over there. If you want bleached, is back there. Made and tail is right there." You know what I mean? Like they have all this stuff down at an early age because they are being shown. Their families were given business money and then they invested it. But when we get business money, sometimes I ain't gonna say all of us, we want to buy the newest Jordans, or the biggest craze, like we are the biggest consumers. And they actually invest into themselves, and then they actually teach their kids how to invest into their whole business. And so I think that we haven't been taught that because, like you said, systemically, we never had the funds, and we never had the we don't have the know-how. If you've never done it before, we're first generation, a lot of us. And so that's where the unprofessionalism comes in. But I think a lot of us are understudied also. So another thing that we don't get taught is that when you employ your own children, that it's a tax write-off. So you don't have to pay taxes on that employee, which keeps more money in your pocket as a business. And we're not taught that because we don't have the business one-on-one stuff going on in our community as much as we need to.
That is correct.
I would agree. Also, TCC doesn't promote child labor because them 5 and 6 and 7-year-old Arab kids ain't got no business behind that cash register. But anyway,
who says that? Says who?
That is child labor. No place can hire a child.
It's not. They're not back there doing 8-hour shifts. They're back there learning. See, this is why you ain't got no money right now.
Pause. That little boy that used to work at the back store in Niagara Falls was there 9-10-hour shifts.
That's not necessarily child labor, because you don't know how people are running businesses. Sometimes these kids could be back there, instead of going to after school care, let me go to my dad's store. Okay, I'm learning about finances. My dad is teaching me about money. Instead of actually learning 2 plus 2, let me learn the cash register. That's finances. Now let me learn what a consumer is. Now I'm looking at that. I'm learning what a consumer is. It's teaching. It's world school.
It's teaching. I just brought up the child labor because someone was on Twitter about 2 kids being found out working at McDonald's, and it's a whole uproar. But anyway,
I'll have to say they in the nail shops too. They bring their kids into the nail shops.
They do.
So I see them running around all the time.
Yeah. And then guess what they do? They grow up and then they run the business. Meanwhile, we talking about child labor.
I mean, because it's a thing. Because we Black and we know it'll be different for us. Let them walk up in our store and see a kid in there. It will be different for us. So let's not pretend like it won't be.
Well, we're gonna have to see, because we don't be on no stores like that.
But anyway. So with thinking about this now, you have the side of things where we need to learn more how to relate to people, because there's a customer service side to business, but every business person is not necessarily a customer facing person. I can own a business and know that I'm not good with people and put a customer facing person out in front. So if you know you can't talk to people, get you an employee that can. So that way you don't have to do that and your business can thrive. And while you at it, consider the fact that the aunties will soon be selling product and support this Black business, because we've all worked with customers. We've all worked in customer service, I believe, all of us on here. So we know how to talk to people. We know how to treat y'all. So we're going to be selling products and y'all going to support us. I'm just speaking that into existence. But now we're going to transition right over into our couple stuff, our relationship stuff, because I mean, couples go shopping and stuff too, and couples own businesses. So how do couples work together? All right, y'all. So today our main dish is all about couples and relationships. So we're going to be talking about some couple things. I do work with couples. That's one of my favorite populations to work with. I know some of the other aunties also do work with couples as well. So we all know what it looks like. And it's a lot that goes into couples work. It's a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different ways to go about it, a lot of different, I'll say no perfect way, but a lot of different ways that are effective that can help couples. So first off, let's just start out with what we see the most in couples therapy. What do people come in with? What do y'all see people coming in with?
Infidelity. No, I'm kidding. I don't work with couples. I was just throwing that out there.
No, you do see that.
You see that. It's not the top thing though. A lot of people think, yep, most couples coming in because somebody done cheated. It's actually not. Usually people are coming in because they are either having really bad communication issues, they're having really bad intimacy issues, or financial problems. And not financial problems like, oh, we broke and we not surviving, but we look at money different and we are arguing about it constantly.
Yeah. I see a lot of all those issues leading to infidelity, and not being able to discuss it after it happens, or not even just not even being able to talk about why it happened, or actually going deep. Sometimes couples have difficulty going deep because I think people think when it's infidelity, it's like you did this, but people don't actually think like, well, shoot, there's two people in this marriage, there's two people in this relationship. How did we get here?
Absolutely. People always put the fault on the person who cheated, and they do hold the most responsibility, but two people are involved and two people contributed to where they get. And a lot of couples don't like to hear that. That person that's been hurt doesn't like to hear, well, this is how you might have contributed to this. So I find that brings up a lot of tension in couple sessions, and couple sessions are very dynamic sessions because if they get to arguing in front of you, some therapists don't know how to handle that. It's like, oh shoot, these people like about to cut each other's throat in here. What am I supposed to do? And you have to know how to work with couples who are fighting in your face, literally.
I don't typically work with couples per se, but I have worked with women who are in marriages, and some of them are due to communication, mostly communication. But I think a lot of people also miss out on the economic side of couples, and how and not what I mean by like not having any money during their marriage, but like when the marriage is close to divorce, and when it comes to splitting things, how money ends up being brought up when it comes to splitting things. And typically the woman does not have enough money to survive on her own, specifically if she's the one that's going to be taking care of her children. So that has also been something that has been something that I've addressed in individual therapy. So I think it's just something that people don't want to see their marriages end and don't want to be in that space. But I still think it's a conversation that doesn't get brought up a lot. If you are in that space, or if you are headed in that direction, who is going to be the person that's going to basically take over the finances, and what does that look like?
Yeah, and you know what, Auntie Keisha, it's a lot of good things that can be pulled from what you just said, because a lot of people don't know, but every couples therapist can't work a couple through divorce. Sometimes that's a different type of therapist altogether. And it's a therapist who can help you learn how to co-parent if you're going to split up. That's not always your couples or your marriage therapist. There are marriage and family therapists who work that area too, working with couples who are going through a divorce or who are divorced, but it's different. Like that's a different specialty, like a niche. But one thing that comes up a lot with divorce, when you talk about the finances and how the economics will look, people don't realize that who you married is not who you are divorcing. This is a different person at this point. Who you married, because a lot of people will say, I never expected her or him to do that, because who you married ain't who you divorcing, honey. Y'all done been through a lot. And now you at a whole nother point. And it takes me back to the Best Man series that came out. When they went through that divorce, they got evil with each other. And their friend tried to tell them, when you're going through a divorce, things look different. People act different. And so communication gets really tough when couples are going through that. But I think we can segue to something else with what Auntie Keish said too, because the idea of women who go through divorce and then they can't sustain the lifestyle that they lived with their partner. They're not able to take care of themselves financially. So it becomes, what am I going to get from this divorce? I need to be able to survive. Speaks a lot to people not communicating what they want in the beginning. This is where I get upset with, I won't put it all on men, but with people who say they want traditional relationships and marriages. Traditional has some stipulations to it that I don't think a lot of people are prepared for. If we are talking about a woman being a stay-at-home wife or mom, if that relationship goes awry, how is she going to sustain herself? And people don't think about that when they thinking about what they want in the beginning of a relationship, and they're not really clear on what they want. Like, I find a lot that people just don't communicate what needs to be communicated in the beginning of a relationship.
But even if you are clear on what you want, that doesn't still mean you're going to get what you want by the end of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people change over time naturally, not even just within the relationship, but people change. You grow into a different person, you become more mature. Things that you used to enjoy or like, you don't anymore. You get new interests, and that affects the couple as well. When you both grow, but you grow in different directions, and you have to learn how to kind of integrate that again, or you learn how to live separately again.
I like the way that you said grow together, because it is hard to grow together, because a lot, we live in an individualistic society now where everybody's like, oh, if you ain't happy, then you go over here. If you ain't happy, then you just leave. If you ain't doing this, then you just leave. And I think when we have children, we think, oh, if I'm not happy, I can just leave. Okay. But instead of you just being like, you know what, let me just go be an individual because I'm not happy with this person. We don't think that there are other individuals in the house that are dependent on us getting it right. And so, like, instead of like, okay, we grew apart because that does happen. Why don't people say we grew together? You get some people who don't want to go to marriage and family therapy, who are just like, you know what, I'm doing me, you do you. But at the same time, we also have other people who suffer when we make those decisions in our marriage. So we don't necessarily grow together, but we grow apart. So I sometimes wonder if when we do grow apart, it's because we didn't put effort in on both of our parts. Now, that's not always the case, but both people have to put in effort.
I think about the interview that just happened with Michelle Obama and Oprah Winfrey, and Michelle was talking about how people saw, Michelle and Barack as the power couple and the it couple. And she was talking about how, like, young people today don't understand what it means to be in a marriage because, they must have saw a picture and said relationship goals. And she was like, I was mad at him in that picture. She was like, I didn't like my husband for 10 years of the 30 years that they done been together. But she's like, nobody want to talk about that part. Nobody wants to talk about having to stay with that person. And you, like you said, growing together, because what if she didn't stay with Barack? Would she have been married to the president of the United States? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, but now I'm new school. I'm going to be out. Bye.
But if so, he was somebody come up to him.
I do think a lot of people would agree with what you're saying because of how Michelle Obama had put it and how y'all are putting it. Like, you got to grow through a marriage. That's why I ain't in one, because I know I'm not ready. Like, I know I'm not doing that right now, and I'm not growing with you through anything. That does not mean I won't in the future. It's just right now that's not where my mindset is, and I don't think that's fair to a man if that's not where I am. That's just what I think personally for me.
I did meet the Obamas. Huh? I met Barack. I didn't get to go and go see Michelle, but I met them in their bodyguards, and it's funny because she said that people come up to her and they say, "How do you feel? You married the president of the United States," and she was like, or what they say, "You sure got lucky. You married the president of the United States," and she said, "If I'd have married you, you'd be president too." And that's what we don't think about. That right there. She stayed, and when he was getting on her nerves, people gonna get on your nerves. Your spouse is gonna piss you off. It's gonna be like that. One thing I seen in an interview, I didn't see that Oprah interview, but I did see another interview where she said, I was so worried about he's gone and he's doing this and he's doing that. He's at the gym and I'm here with the kid. No, stop worrying about what he's doing and you make time for yourself to do all of that. And when she said that, clicked. All of a sudden, I'm like, you know what? I'm over here trying to stifle this man when I got stuff to do. And when she said all of that, like if I'd have married you, you be president too and stuff like that, that all comes from staying and speaking life into something that you know exists. So, like I said, him being president had everything to do with her too. And because it's like that's what I did for my man. And for him, she's the first lady. She's the first lady, and she stayed in that stressful position with kids in front of the whole wide world because he spoke that same life into her. It's not perfect, but it's sustainable.
Oh yeah. He wouldn't be president without her. He wouldn't be president without her. Wasn't she his supervisor? She was his supervisor.
Yeah, she was his
law school.
In law school.
Yeah, she was over him.
I love that you said what you said right at the end. It's not perfect, but it's sustainable. See, that's important to relationships. No relationship is gonna be perfect. And I kind of, as y'all were talking, I heard that Michelle Obama interview with Oprah where she said I didn't like him for 10 years. And people were in an uproar because they were like, sis, you stayed with somebody that you didn't like for 10 years? Like what? And that's an individual choice she made because she knew who he was. She might have not liked him, but she loved him. You're not gonna always like your partner, period, point blank. You're not gonna always like anybody. People gonna get on your nerves, like Auntie Shug said. But if you have that communication and somebody that is speaking life into you, that is a world of different than somebody that is literally pulling you down, because there are situations where you do not need to stay. Ain't no potential, ain't no nothing. You need to go.
Oh, that's what the part I was gonna comment on. Before anybody gets too far.
Right. Please
Michelle Obama held it down for somebody who was at the top of his class. She wasn't holding down right running them on the street. Amber on the corner store. That's not what she was doing. Because I wanted to make that clear. Because a lot of people will try to justify holding down a dude who ain't doing nothing and don't got no potential to be nothing. That man she held down was at the top of his class, like at Harvard.
True. Like, but I also want to, because I remember when we had Brandy on. She was a guest on our show about autism. And everybody also doesn't have, you can have somebody, and Auntie Amber just made me think of it because she said the bus driver. You can, if you're dating a bus driver or a truck driver or a blue collar worker, that person, because I don't want to get into this classist elitist thing, that person can still have drive, determination. This is just what they love to do. They have that for their passion. But if you got somebody that's just doing something, going through the motions of life, and they don't want anything else, it's not about wanting a better career. It's about what do you want for you. That's what you speak in life into. So it's not to say somebody can't work in a different type of field or a blue collar job and not still be that man that you will ride for because he got your back and he's supporting you. So it's that situation. But a lot of times people get in relationships and that person is literally speaking death to them. It's like Valley of Dry Bones. They're not uplifting you. They're not supporting you. Nothing's there. And to tell you to work through that, I'm not that couples therapist.
Yeah.
I'm not to work through something that's clearly done because it just doesn't fit anymore.
And I do want to ask about that because I like how you make that differentiation. And as we're all talking, I'm also thinking about the differentiation between whenever you don't like your partner, right? But you still love them. You don't like them. They're getting on your nerves. Like you can't deal with it. And then like you just don't like them and you don't love them and you don't want to be in that relationship anymore. And sometimes people tend to try to make things work that are not going to work when it comes to their kids, right? But when it gets to that point, like when you don't like them, but you love them and you get into an argument, right? You might be mad for like a couple of days and it's cool. When you don't like them and you really don't like them, you don't love them, you get into an argument and it's intense every single time. It's like your relationship is about to end every single time. Like how do you help couples work through that? Like, especially if it's happening right in front of you.
Honestly, you don't always. You don't always. I have a thing, and most couples have asked this question, which was strange to me at first, but then I was like, I get how it would be a question. A lot of couples who are leery about coming to couples therapy, they feel like are you going to tell us the truth if you believe that this is not going to work, or are you just going to keep taking our money and keep working us through these things, trying to make it work when it doesn't work? I'm real upfront with couples. If I see that you are not trying to do the work, or if I notice that somebody is starting to feel apathetic, because apathy, if you angry, you still care. If emotions are there, we can work with something. If you apathetic and like, I don't care what we're doing, that's a problem. It's hard to work through apathy. If a person has got to that point, it's likely over. And I don't sugarcoat that for couples. I'm like, it may not work. And I ask couples all the time, if y'all were not together, would this still be your friend? If y'all were not together right now, could you see this person being your friend? And I've had couples flat out say, no. Well, there's your answer. I'm not going to tell y'all what to do. If y'all want to work and stick with me and do some things to try, that's fine. But if you at that place, that's hard to come back from.
I asked couples in the first session, I inform them. I inform all my clients, actually. I go where you go. So if you're ready to work through this, if you want to get through all of this stuff, and obviously you do if you're here, if you want to get through it, then I could work through it with you. But the minute you don't, or the minute it looks like you're not wanting to get through it, then you don't have to be here. There are people who need to be fired as your couples, and that's okay. There are people who fight each other physically in the sessions, and it's not funny. It's distressing, and it gets on my nerves. There are people who actually, like, they're physically about to be up in each other's face. There are situations where there's duty to warn, where you have to tell couples, like, you know what, you two need to separate. You have to get away from each other. Maybe come back at a later time. Maybe have some phone conversations. Or if you guys are going to be this toxic towards each other, then I can't see you. Those are those people. And sometimes they come back later and they're like, you telling us that? Let us see ourselves, and let us see that we were just, oh my God. Like, if somebody who is paid to work with people like this, can see and like look at us and say, I don't even want to work with y'all, then maybe we needed to change it.
For my approach, I usually use the Socratic method approach, which is more asking, those questions, because couples can be messy. I don't necessarily work with couples, but I work with women in relationships and marriages. And my job is not to tell them to leave their partner, because I'm quick to say that shit in my own life. Bye. But again, as a therapist, I have to throw whatever my bias is and everything I have in the trash and work with them on what they want to do. So I use Socratic questioning, which is just basically going through like underlying principles, belief systems that they have, and us doing a cost benefit analysis, understanding, okay, what's the best outcome? And also I talk about communication, because sometimes it's not about what you say to your partner, it's about how you say it. So I clarify, okay, how did you say that? How did they perceive that? So that's typically what I do when it comes to working with women who are in either going to having relationship issues or marital issues.
Yep. I use that method too. I love Socratic questioning, and I work with Gottman a lot because that focuses on the communication styles, things you should avoid within your relationship, like criticism, stonewalling, contempt, things like that. The things that we need to avoid when we're trying to communicate with somebody, because like Auntie Key said, it's how you say it. How you say something and how it's taken in can change the trajectory of the conversation. But overall, I wanted to point out something that Auntie Shug said. All couples, when couples come in, it's not necessarily meaning both of them want to be there. Some people get dragged to couples therapy, and you can tell as a therapist the person who's resisting and got dragged up in there by their partner. So when you got that situation, that's kind of hard, because one person is trying their best to put forth this effort and the other person might not. And then a lot of couples are reactive. They only come to couples therapy once things are bad. And I like couples who are proactive. I have a lot of couples who come because they just want to learn tools before it even get there. And I tell people, this is why premarital counseling is great. And even if you're not thinking about marriage or you're already married, come for tools proactively so you can know how to handle things when they do happen, because they're going to happen. And then lastly, it's just the idea of couples that we can't see. Auntie Shug made me think of that. If a couple is physically violent, you as the therapist, it's your job to say, no, you need to go to anger management, or you need to do individual therapy first and maybe revisit couples therapy later. If there's one of the clients that has a substance abuse issue, I will not see you until that issue is under control. So there are different reasons why a couples therapist or a therapist who sees couples can say, no, I can't work with you. I can't do this. I won't be able to. I have to refer you here, or y'all need these outside sources first before you can work on this relationship. And lastly, your kids see more than you think. They know more than you think. For those couples who are really struggling and the relationship is going awry and you thinking, well, we just gonna stay together for the kids, your kids see, hear, and understand far more than you think they do. Sometimes you get grown, full adult kids who will tell me in individual, my parents should have divorced when I was 10. I don't know why the hell they still together now. And it's like, what? And they're like, they shouldn't have been together when we were kids. They thought they were staying together for us, and it wasn't helping us. So realize that and talk to your kids as a couple, because they see it and you sticking together for them. And that's why the divorce rate after kids go off to college is so high. That's a high time for couples to get divorced.
That's why I don't advocate for sticking together just for kids. I advocate for sticking together and working on yourselves for the kids, because you could stick together and not and be sleeping in different rooms or whatever. But if you're sticking together and you're actually working through your problems, then you're doing it for your kids, but you're also not toxic towards each other the whole time. Exactly. So you're doing everything for your kids.
Yep. Make yourself better for your kids, and that will show up in the relationship.
Or make your relationship better and to show up in your kids.
That is true too, because what they see is how they'll be in relationships. Keep that in mind.
I like that. All right. Well, thank y'all for watching. I should.
What y'all about to do?
Soundstripe.
Well, I adjusted my mic. Maybe that was it.
Okay. All right. So let's get into the hot sauce. And Auntie Shuggy, you are introducing. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Go for it.
All right. Welcome to the Clinical Cookout. Today we are going to be talking about. Oh wait, I am starting off like that, right? Okay, that's really good. All right, y'all. Welcome to the Clinical Cookout. I'm going to. Okay. All right. Welcome to the Clinical Cookout. Today we're going to be talking about Black businesses for our hot sauce. And should I do that again?
Soundstripe.
Was it raggedy?
It was fine. It was fine.
You want to redo it though?
It was raggedy.
Amber was like,
It wasn't raggedy. It just wasn't like your best.
It didn't flow like you normally would.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I see. Give me that honesty. Give me that good feedback. Okay.
What in the hell? What?
A whole person just came out your throat. What is wrong with you?
Okay. Okay.